You see, if a friend of yours, you know for a fact that he killed, I don't know, he killed Mickey Mouse, okay? He killed Mickey Mouse for sure, because you saw him pull out the gun and blow the little mouse away, right? Well, shit, yeah, your friend, you know, murdered Mickey Mouse.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're having a beautiful night. What you just heard was some brilliant wisdom from Coach Red Pill, telling us about the dangers of your friends possibly murdering fictional cartoon characters that presumably don't exist. But maybe we're just not red-pilled enough to see them, you know? Anyway, there's been some commotion and a big split. Another dramatic arc of betrayal in this war between the various e-celebs. In this case, on the more blood sportsy or ex-blood sports side of things, Coach Red Pill decided to go full Spurg, and he had an issue with Andy. Now, this this is some of the dumbest shit I've heard from an e-celeb in a while, particularly in Coach's case, because, well, let's just go to the beginning of this video, and you'll start to see why.
I broke off a relationship I had with a guy, a friend of mine.
Who does this? Seriously, like, who would go through an issue with someone they know, a buddy of theirs, and then open up a YouTube video about it, made with these state-of-the-art cameras, and just come out online and go ahead and say, "Oh, I had broken up a relationship with this guy I know." I mean, maybe there's some fags that have done that for sure, but I don't know if any normal, sane, heterosexual person that goes about doing this. So, in Coach's case, like, he's going to go on to explain a bunch of bullshit, which we'll get to that. Let's just play some more of this.
Or let me rephrase it, a guy I thought was a friend of mine. I cut off all ties to the man, and I do not wish to ever speak to him again. And there's a reason for it. You see,
just look how hurt he is. Like, look how, just look at it. Look at him just go through this. I don't know of any, like, I don't know what he was thinking making this video. I really don't. I mean, Coach Red Pill shtick is always doing these kinds of talks where he gives life advice to his audience, mainly comprised of incels and other morons. Actually, that's a lie. They're all incels. And he tells them, "Oh, this is how you get a woman. This is how you live your life, and this is how you know how to deal with things. This is how you stay cool and hip and able to be socially savvy." But for a guy who keeps on bragging about his social savviness, he doesn't have any himself. He's not aware of what he's doing here, and it clearly shows. And I know that Ralph told his audience, basically, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, go vote with your mind on this like ratio, but I don't think that's insincere. Like, if I saw this video and I knew nothing about who this Coach Red Pill guy is or his friendship with Ralph or whatever, I'd still dislike this video because this guy is just goofy.
I thought that this guy was my friend, okay? Because we'd gotten to know each other over a period of several months, and we'd hung out, and we'd really liked each other. We just were, you know, simpatico, right? And there had come a point where I'd actually helped him out. I kept him from being arrested, which is pretty serious, especially considering that this man had a criminal record. And had he been arrested, he would have gone to jail for parole violation. It would have been a very, very serious situation for him. He would have spent several months, if not years. Decided to break off the relationship, and the reason was very, very clear. In a public setting, on a live stream, as a matter of fact, this man was talking to an individual, and this individual, for reasons of his own, was spreading lies about me, very serious lies, smears, really. That's what he was spreading. And this friend of mine...
Now, if you're curious, no, he never does explain what those lies or smears are, at least not here, but he did elsewhere. He did in a stream that he deleted. In fact, it's very funny that this happened the very night that I called Coach out on his "I want to avoid the drama. I'm getting sick of it. And how I played the clip of him crying about how people were being mean, and he was obviously scared shitless that the guy that he refuses to mention in this video, Zoom, was going after him. And he just went to show that he really can't do a show on his own. Like, this is the image he used, that shit stream I was talking about, the one from his third channel. And in here, when you hear Coach Raw, you hear what this is all about, and you put this into context, and you just know that Coach is just completely full of shit and doesn't know what he's talking about.
The thing that, people ask, what happened in the house? Who
Let's put that at normal speed. Okay, actually, let's just put this back a bit.
is a very dynamic character. We had a great time. Now, the thing that, people ask, what happened in the house? Who paid for what? Because that's something that happened the other day. See, Zoom goes on Ethan Ralph's channel and tries to, have people infer that I didn't pay my share of the house. I did pay my share of the house. The house was $600. I paid Ralph $100 because Ralph had forked over the cash for the house, and I paid Andy $150 because I wanted to have the solo room because I had gear, and frankly, I'm just not up for sleeping on a couch in the living room. Sorry, maybe I'm just old, but that's that. So I paid him $150 because when we got to the house, I just took dibs on the bedroom. I assumed that everybody was going to have a bedroom. But you show up and there's only 2 bedrooms. The larger one, Ethan was already there. And the smaller one, I got dibs on it. And, Andy throws a hissy fit. And I'm like, fuck off. I'm sleeping here and that's that. And he chilled out like a good little puppy,
I also like to comment. I like how he refers to Andy as basically as being his little bitch. Andy and Ralph split this initially 50-50, and they invited Coach and Dick as guests. And he's complaining that, and Andy's right, like, Andy's correct in this. Like, there's no reason for Coach to have that room. What? Because he called dibs? Where the conversation should have ended with Worski pointing out that, hey, I'm paying for half of this. You're not paying a dime. And yeah, Ralph gets a room, Andy gets a room. Sounds fair to me. And if you don't like sleeping on the floor, you should have worked it out before you agreed to go there. Like maybe you could have rented a hotel, or just said, no, I don't feel like going if I'm not going to have my own room, etc. But you didn't. So this is really on you. But let's let Coach continue his tale.
And, I paid my share to Ethan. And to smooth the way with Andy, I paid him $150. Because if it was $600, it was going three ways, $200 each, right? It would have been $200 for Ethan, $200 for Andy, and $200 me. But I paid $100 plus $150. The $150 Andy to chill him out and have him not be so upset that he's not getting a bedroom to himself. And so what? I paid $250. I paid my own way. Yeah, but of course, Ethan Ralph, when Zoom is telling him this, Ethan Ralph isn't saying shit, right? He's not saying that I paid my own way. He's like, well, oh, Zoom, because he's afraid of Zoom, because that's the fact. Ethan Ralph is just chicken shit.
Okay, so you heard it directly from Coach. He paid his way. He paid $250 to make sure that he paid his fair share. So he wasn't mooching off of them. Let's get rid of that. Give me a second. There we go. Coach Red Pill paid $250. $150 to Andy, $100 to Ralph. So, hey, Zoom's talking shit. Ralph's just not along. Or at least that's Coach's story. Well, let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at the original stream. And we'll see if that adds up once we go back to the original footage. Okay, just set this up. And we'll see how cowardly and full of it Ralph is. Give me a moment.
I had to put this out here. Now, I talked to Andy
Hang on. Let's just put that in normal speed and go.
after Knoxville, and he told me that when he went to try to go to bed the night before the fight, that Coach was in the room and refused to give it and demanded that he should have the room. And that him and Andy got into a huge fight over it. Can you guys vouch for the veracity of that happening?
That's true. I saw it. Yeah.
Actually, I was asleep. I was asleep, but yeah, that did happen. I believe. Yeah, I was told about the next day.
Yeah.
He also claims that he paid an equal share into, into the fund for the house that you guys rented. Is that true? Because Andy told me he only paid $150.
He paid.
I wouldn't know about that because I mooched the entire thing, and thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, I was a mooch
You're
as
welcome.
well.
So the
I didn't even offer.
The entire thing was like $600 or so, a little bit over, and me and Andy split it. And then Coach paid me $100. He paid Andy, I think, $150 because he took his room. And yeah, that's.
Well, the way
by the
that
way,
Coach
I had
was
to pay
talking, the
extra
clip I
because we
got-
damaged the table in the room. I had to pay $200 extra, so I paid
the
more
way
than
that,
everybody for the room. Yeah.
The way that he was acting in the recording I got said he was acting like he paid his whole fucking way there, and he paid for everything. He's a fucking.
I mean,
he's a
he did
goddamn
pay
fraud.
for his ticket. He did pay at least I guess $250 on the room. So
Yeah, but he's like, oh, I paid for the apartment and everything, and I paid for this. He's a goddamn bullshit. And then this is my footage. So as far as I'm concerned, fuck them. I'm keeping it. It's mine.
Now, I'm pretty sure those of you with ears caught that. That's not what Coach said happened. What Coach said happened was that Ralph was too afraid and too scared to go ahead and actually stick up for his friend. And that Ralph was just in a corner, scared of Zoom, not saying anything. But I heard Ralph sticking up for Coach. And keep in mind, last night I played the clip where Coach, he told Ralph to his face that he was never going to speak to him again. This was the last time they were going to talk. So where does Coach get off? Where does Coach get off saying these things? Like, the dude's just completely full of it. He's just looking for an excuse to go ahead and throw Ralph under the bus. And also, another thing occurred to me as I was going through this. Coach already broke ties with Ralph before this. So Coach is lying in two ways. He's lying when he's saying that Ralph didn't stand up for him when the chips were down. And Coach is lying for there's reason for breaking up with Ralph. He had already made up his mind. He was going to break off with Ralph, and he wasn't going to go ahead and speak with him again. And I don't understand. There's a I can only speculate as to why Coach is acting like a retard in this case. He's actually acting in a way that just he's criticizing Andy for burning bridges, and he goes ahead and burns bridges. And the only thing I can really gather is a theory that's been floating around. I think Zoom mentioned this on a stream, but I'll mention it here too. Let me pull up the tweet. And I also share this tweet on Twitter, so it won't be that hard to bring up. Here we go. Let's just show that next. This is JF, the rapist, the guy who likes to prey on autistic women and put them under his thumb so he can put babies inside of them for whatever ungodly reason he has in mind. As indicated previously, there will be no TPS tonight. TPS being his show, The Public Space. Tomorrow at noon, we have CRP on, Coach Red Pill, to talk about his new book. Then at 1, we have the YouTube members private show. Click join below the videos to receive the link to that one. That's really a coincidence. This is tweeted just this week, right after Coach threw Andy and Ralph under the bus. And JF has had beef with Andy. And it should also be mentioned that Ralph has been not so subtly throwing barbs at JF over his latest autistic girlfriend. So the theory goes that JF and had Coach Red Pill attack both Andy and Ralph in order to get on JF's good side, so that they could help promote each other's books. And to be frank, I see no reason to object to this theory. It is pretty solid, actually. I think that he's on the money with this one, and that wouldn't surprise me if this turned out to be true at all. And so that's the deal with. So Coach is losing his mind, and he's breaking up with the current members. And I see two factions forming. On one side, you got the main players are Ralph, Andy, Zoom. On the other side, you have Coach Red Pill, Josh, and JF. Josh, if you're not familiar with him, is the owner of Kiwi Farms, and he and Zoom have been at it for quite some time, at least a month now. And there's some, and yeah, I would say that Zoom is correct, that Josh is basically controlled opposition. And but we're not going to talk about Josh tonight. I just wanted to mention who the players were and continue on from the past 2 episodes of where things are headed. In the chat, Jeremy says, I don't like JF. Calling him a rapist is a bit far. A predator, yes. I can see how you might see it that way, but I mean, like, he had sex with a woman that was incapable of having sex. I mean, she couldn't consent. If this was a child, there'd be no question about it. Yeah, so I'm not giving him a pass. I'm not gonna soften up on account that a lot of because it might be PR friendly or whatever. And as we've seen, and if JF doesn't like it, he could threaten to sue me and then never follow through. So that'll be that. Actually, let's listen, before we move on to the next topic, let's listen to a little bit more of this Coach Red Pill. Because he did mention another issue of the money being divvied up for the next project. So let me press play on that. Switch scenes here.
And make a big bang, just like the Knoxville thing had happened. The Knoxville thing happened by accident, but this would have been like a deliberate move, right? Okay. So, how'd it go? Oh yeah, we started talking about percentages. He didn't say fucking shit about them. Okay, I'll give you another example.
Here we go.
See, like when we got back from Knoxville, there's this whole thing of like, let's whatchamacallit, do another one. Do another Knoxville. And out of the blue, Andy calls me. Okay? He sends like a bunch of Discord messages. He wants to call me and talk to me and fine. Okay, fine. And we talk. Okay? He goes on and on about Shaban for the first 10 minutes or whatever, right? And then he's like, he's saying, let's do another. Knoxville was so cool and blah, blah, blah. Now, this is before it was decided later between Ethan and Andy to go to, Miami. Okay? So they're like, let's do something, blah, blah, blah. Sure, that sounds great. I'm down with it, blah, blah. So that was a preliminary conversation with Andy, and I do believe, I forget, frankly, if Ethan hopped onto that call later or we had a second call, the 3 of us. Be that as it may. The 3 of us are talking, and we start talking percentages, okay? Now, the goal was to do this like every 3 months and to do like a multimedia package, like streaming, videos, on multiple channels. Sort of like a group effort to pool our audiences and, make a big bang, just like the Knoxville thing had happened. The Knoxville thing happened by accident, but this would have been like a deliberate move, right? Okay. So, how'd it go? Oh yeah, we started talking about percentages. And so Andy says that he wants it to be 25.
All right, I'm not familiar with the details of this one, so I'm actually not going to comment. Except I will say that Coach runs an even more pathetic stream than mine. So, he really sometimes I think I'm bad at telling a story. Boy, that one just put me right to sleep. All right, yeah. So Coach is losing his mind, and he's basically not in a position to like, and I don't see what he's really going to get out of it. At the end of this, I think that Coach is going to fall and pop. Like, I mean, Ralph commented on this in his last video, or his last stream rather, and he said that Coach wasn't going to take a hit, that it was all going to be okay, and I'm not seeing that being the case. I see Coach honestly ending up losing as a result of this move, and even Ralph himself like was making fun of him on Twitter by pointing out that he had, what was it? His own comments section was just ripping him to shreds. Take a look at this here. This is Ralph. Coach getting absolutely destroyed in his own comment section. So we all know you're talking about Ethan not correcting Zoom. Is that what this is? That is the correction you desire? Have you even contacted him about this on background? Or is your communication with Ethan to be done in public, or when you jumped on the kill stream and were totally vacuous and clearly caught Ethan by surprise saying, oh, by the way, this is the last time I'm still talking to you. Is that what you believe is the best method of handling this? Speaking of cowards, this is the truly cowardly way of handling it. Not talking to the person, instead whining about it in a public video. How completely disappointing. You act like a woman, Coach. Either you talk directly to Ralph or you cut ties and shut up. You don't cut ties and then gossip and talk smack behind the person's back. That's what women do. And this guy's right. This is completely cowardly and stupid of him. Like, he should either pick one of the two options you said, because frankly, Coach can choose to associate with whoever he wants. He doesn't have to associate with Ralph or continue being friends with him for whatever reason. But being like a total bitch about it, like, that's just faggy. Let's read a couple more of these. I bet I was responsible for Ralph going to jail as you are for preventing it. And that's another good point too, because Coach was going on about how he had to save Ralph, and Ralph would have ended up in a fight with a bunch of hooligans back in Knoxville if it weren't for him stopping him from going, and there was a police officer on the other side of the street. Well, frankly, I can only take so much of Coach Red Pill's stories because he openly lied about Zoom and Ethan right there in the stream. Like, I'm not, like, it's hard to take his account on anything seriously, especially in these affairs. You sound like a whiny ex-girlfriend at this all over money. And to think that you burned all these bridges for nothing. Okay, so this one's pretty faggy. Like, I mean, all hail the Ralph Mel. But, senpai, please notice me aside. Yeah, like, the general sentiment is very negatively against Coach. And, yeah, like I said on Twitter, he really didn't think this one through. So, let's move on to the next topic that I want to talk about tonight, which would be about Geekthuluh, who seems to have vindicated me as far as I have my criticism against him. But first, I'm going to read some stuff from the chat. Jeremy says, "Come on, man, don't believe the legal shit. I just can't agree on the rapist stuff. People forget JF is a full artist as well. He is a smart fellow, so it gets missed at times." Well, the problem with that is that I see people making this case that, oh, well, JF is crazy too, so it's okay for him, completely legit, for him to go ahead and seek out autistic women and screw them. Well, the issue with that is that, yes, JF is clearly mentally disturbed in one fashion or another, though he's still culpable for his action. He's not mentally incapable of making choices. These women, though, are determined to not be able to consent to sex. They clearly are emotionally disturbed, and they aren't aware of their surroundings or what's happening to them. And JF has openly bragged about putting them under his thumb, and they're easily manipulated, and they're just in a position where they can't do anything. So, no, it's not like if two people are crazy, it necessarily means that both of them have the same capacity to consent to relations. All of these people are fucking disgusting. Thinking any of them are better than any others is just sad. And Jen Silverstein says, "Black screen, fix it." Yeah, there was an issue with that, but it's resolved now. All right. You seem to want to pick sides and try to find a shiny turd in a pile of shit. No. Like, that's not it. I'm not here to pick sides. I'm just here to look at the situation and give my perspective on it. Like, if I was interested in taking sides, I wouldn't be telling both JF and Worski that they're full of shit. And for that matter, I'd be doing a lot more ass kissing than anything that I'm doing now. So, all right, on to the next topic, which would be, again, Geekthuluh. There's been an interesting development between Andy and Geek, and they seem to have buried the hatchet, or at least that is what Worski said. And that'll be the next thing I bring up. So Andy says this on Twitter, which I find curious, and we'll get to why in a moment. I spoke with Geek. We buried the hatchet. I was quick to block him when I was freaking out, and I said sorry, and he apologized for leaking the DMs of me, being upset. No point in having enemies when you can put your shoulders up like a man and admit when you are wrong. Well, that seems rather amicable, but as you recall, Geek seemed to have really laid into me for, criticizing him. Just going to mentions here. As I recall, he was lecturing me about how I shouldn't be commenting on this because I didn't know enough. I was being disingenuous. Like, here's... And I read all these last night, so I'm not going to read them again, but I'll just slowly scroll over it so that way... Or I can just do this, and then you can read the whole thing if you like. So, I have to ask Geekthuluh in case he's listening. Where's my apology? It seems I was correct about the whole thing. I was right about you being a dick and going ahead and leaking those DMs, which caused Andy even more grief, despite you supposedly being his friend. And I was also right about Andy that he shouldn't have blocked you in the first place. And here you are, admitting to each other that you were both wrong and making up. So, next time, I don't know, Geek, maybe you shouldn't start talking shit, otherwise you look kind of semi-retarded later on. I just wanted to briefly mention that. Oh, and there's also something else that's weird about this, though. Because, again, there's something really unclear here. Why is Andy giving Geek forgiveness, though? Because the last I checked, Andy said that Geek definitely, like, not speculatively, not maybe he did it, but Andy had said that the only one who could have leaked his stream key, because just the other night he was hacked, Andy said in 2 tweets, and I'll get those up right away. Andy said here, Geek was the only one who had my stream key, and now I see this. There is no keylogger. I have 2-step authorization, so that would be impossible. Geek is also trying to dox and use info against the 2 guys who work for me. Geek, please go away. Now, I understand the DM thing can be forgiven or whatever, or has been, but what about all this? Then we have this. Geek knows if you lost manager access, you still have the stream key. Leave me alone, Geek. Stop trying to make an alibi. We're done. Referring to this part here, where he said, I had someone contact Andy to remove me from the account when he freaked out on me. And this was in reference to another screenshot I showed earlier, and yeah, this seems to have been confirmed to have happened. So, why did Andy let him off the hook for this? I did ask Andy on Twitter, but once again, no response about that. And it's not really clear. So, it's not really clear if... I can still speculate as a number of reasons. One, with this information we have, it clearly isn't proof positive that Geek did it. So, even if Andy still suspects him, there's good reason to not hold him to that because the evidence is just not conclusive. And secondly, and the other reason being that, however, it has to be asked if Geek is still someone that can, it also still has to be asked, is this something that is really a good idea for Andy to do, to just go ahead and rebuild trust with this guy? I mean, this guy does have a history of like leaking confidential things, and on top of that, Andy's biggest mistake has been being overly trusting. So I'm not sure if this is legit. and Andy has re-embraced Geek. I'm not sure if that's the best move for him, but at the same time, from a PR standpoint, I can understand why he's doing this. It's pushing back against the narrative that Coach Red Pill, JF, and others are spreading that Andy is just going to burn bridges with everyone he meets and can't have a working relationship whatsoever. And if he's restoring, and if he's going back on one of those breakups and just basically burying the hatchet over something that's at the end of the day kind of stupid to begin with, then yeah, it does make Andy look good in the process. But we'll see. All right, so there's one more topic I wanted to address that's not really related to this stuff going on, but it does involve some characters that are part of these people's circles and cliques and whatnot. And involves someone by the name of Ricada Law. Because I was tuning into Gator's stream today, where he was mostly just him replaying someone else's stream, and not providing any commentary and stuff like that, just mostly just playing it to say, yeah, you go get him, Ricada. This is going to be great. And it was basically over this scandal involving some dude losing his job because some chicks on Twitter and other places in social media accused him of like sexually harassing minors and women at conventions and whatnot. And apparently he was kicked out of these conventions and blacklisted and also lost his job. Which sounds unfortunate, which is unfortunate, don't get me wrong, but where are these things that constitutes as reason for, but they're saying this constitutes as a lawsuit. And all I'm hearing from this is just Gamergate with an anime spin on it. And I don't get why someone like Gator can go like, yeah, Gamergate was totally retarded in one breath, and the next breath go, oh yeah, this thing that's exactly like the thing that I said was retarded. This is legit. This is the real thing that's going to change everything. And Gator, and I actually questioned Gator on this, and he responded with, well, actually, guys, it's different because they're taking action with lawsuits. Where, if you guys remember anything about lawsuits, you should know that Gamergate did have its fair share of threats of lawsuits. People were threatening to sue over boycotts from SJWs, or defamation, or libel, and most of them never came to fruition. But one of them was actually filed. It was involving the Money Badgers, or, by their actual name, the Honey Badgers. I just like to call them the Honey Badgers because they're begging for more money than a hooker in need of crack. Like, they got kicked out of Calgary Expo because they had the bright idea of waving Gamergate banners everywhere and going ahead and having someone dress up as a Vivian James at that convention that they knew going in was run by liberals who hated all that, and they went to a panel and they asked about MRA stuff. And while, maybe MRAs aren't absolutely wrong in every single issue they actually fight for, A, they are wrong about a lot of them, and B, more importantly, they do attract a lot of crazies and weirdos, which has given their group a lot of a bad reputation. So naturally, if you're going to a place full of feminists, the sworn mortal enemy of the MRA, then yeah, they're going to be tooth and nail fighting. They're not going to exactly be welcome there. So like the Calgary Expo got a bunch of complaints, and they kicked the Honey Badgers out. So what happened? Well, they decided to sue them, and the Mary Sue, even though this doesn't, don't ask, now how could they sue the Mary Sue and Calgary Expo at the same time? I have no idea. Like, one's based in New York, one's based in Canada. The Mary Sue just report on these events, and I have no idea. But let's just focus on the potential part of the lawsuit. Now, they had a bright idea of hiring a disbarred lawyer to represent them. I wish I was making this up, but they hired this guy, and he presented the case, and apparently, I should bring up the article that they wrote, because they tried to bury this, but I found it, and I think I'll be going into more depth about this on a later point. Let's see. I had this up I had this up today. see. All right, here we go. I'm not going to read the whole thing because this isn't really the focus of this segment. This is about some new developments, not looking at this dumpster fire and just laughing at it, though it is funny to mention. But but the best bit that I missed, that the most relevant bit is, if you go ahead and read this, you'll discover that by their own admission, they weren't able. It was thrown out specifically because they couldn't. They signed part of the agreement says they could be thrown out for whatever reason at all. Like most terms of agreements and terms of service clauses, they'll have that there and it's legally binding. Like it doesn't matter what else any other part of the agreement says. If there's a clause in there that says that we reserve the right to refuse service or throw out any participant or etc. Like if they have a right to say we can kick you out or end this agreement at any time, then yeah, they can legally enact it, and the rest doesn't matter. It's the same reason why Jared. What's his name? Jared Taylor, the white nationalist guy, when everyone was saying, "Oh my gosh, this is a great development. This guy's suing Twitter." That's why that lawsuit never went anywhere. It won a preliminary hearing, but later on, a judge that it was appealed to overturned the ruling and said that no, it's nonsense. Like, and the thing is, these lawsuits, which are called that for a reason, like. They're just laughable lawsuits. They never get anywhere because it's just they don't know what they're talking about. They really don't. They feel victimized and they feel like that they've been betrayed by the legal system of our society, and like some kind of civil agreement was violated here. But the truth is that this never ever plays out that way. If we actually take a look at now, I don't want to focus on Gator because he was just replaying what someone else said. And I think and he could always say, well, I was just listening to what this other guy said, what someone else told me. And he could try to defend himself that way. I think he's retarded for just blindly following this guy and not doing some research of his own. But that becomes a bit subjective. What's not, though, is I'm not sure where this guy gets off saying the kind of stuff he does on this stream video of his. And while I kind of like Rekieta Law a little bit because he did some things with Donga and he helped expose him, and he also does have he is actually legitimately funny sometimes. I can't ignore the fact that this is just ridiculous. So a little bit of context before I play the video of what it is that how this all ties into itself and fits in. There was a guy called Vic Morgan, Michigan. Vic, I can't pronounce this guy's name. There's a guy called Vic, who he worked as a voice actor, and he attended lots of convention stuff. He did a lot of roles of voices for anime dubs, and apparently he was also hired by Rooster Teeth for their Animu series, RB, Red, Black, Yellow, White, or something like that. I don't know. I don't follow it. And he got into like. He did a lot of voice work, and apparently like these allegations came up, and they're just like now I don't know if these allegations are true or false, and that's the real issue here. Like the issue is that he's making the case for defamation, but at this point I'll play the video and I'll point out why it's wrong. So let me do that.
Listen, I just wanted to provide host Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm. What's up, guys? Welcome to Law Explaining the Inter.
Nope, this is the wrong video. My apologies. Let me get the right one, but this one will be relevant a little bit. Okay, here we go. Now I want to focus on the title here first. This is a potential lawsuit. This isn't even a lawsuit that's been filed. This is all speculation on Rekieta's part. And I'll show why that's kind of ridiculous in a moment.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law Splaining the Interwebs. I'm your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And today I'm here to talk to you about what a case would look like if Vic Mignogna decided to sue everyone who ruined his career. All right? So buckle up, buckle up. Let's talk about that. And then we'll close out this video with a call, a plea, and instructions for how you can help should Vic decide to do this. Okay.
Now this part here really confuses me because he's asking the audience right away, rather than just having this video be like a kind of a speculative piece of like a what could possibly be. He's also making it a call to action. Like you have to have a personal investment in this guy and his personal problems, as though helping this dude, this guy is an E-celeb in his own right, who may or may not have been the victim of victim of some kind of malicious smear campaign or whatever. Like we honestly don't know. Again, he's saying that, oh well, you have to care about this guy, you have to help him, and like he's not coming out and saying it's part of a movement, but this is just the same movement faggotry that we've seen in Gamergate, the alt-right, etc., and in Comicsgate even. But really, it should just be nipped in the bud. Like stuff like this guy's case, even if this guy were to have a case, and even if he were to be successful in winning, it wouldn't change anything as far as the genre goes. Like as far as like the political landscape, it wouldn't have any effect on that. This is just one individual scandal involving one guy. I don't get why anyone would take a look at this video and go, yeah, this was totally like upset the entire industry, and he'll go through some legal crafting, which it just doesn't make sense.
Okay. So, brief backstory. On January 16th, the Broly movie dropped. Vic Mignogna's in Broly. You probably know more about Vic than I do if you're watching this video, okay? Vic is Broly. He's in the Broly movie. It's a huge release. That day and the day after, some tweets start coming out accusing Vic of various types of sexual misconduct. The Broly movie releases. Kaylin Saucedo, aka Mars Girl, drops this pair of tweets, which really seems to have kicked off the firestorm. Okay, and the reason I say that is because the hashtag #KickVic is created in the second tweet here, and that hashtag seems to have attached itself to the movement through no small effort of Kaylin Saucedo.
That doesn't matter. None of this matters. And if we actually look at the tweets here, like as far as any kind of defamation or destruction of character or ruination of careers, what does she say? She says, hard to say this, especially on a night that Dragon Ball Z film that dropped, and knowing that I have friends and acquaintances at Funimation, but I think it might be time to reconsider hiring Vic as a voice actor in the future due to years of and great volumes of sexual misconduct. Does this need like a hashtag or something? Something like I don't know, kick Vic? Or does this evoke too much of an image of physically kicking him rather than giving him the boot? I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't create hashtags. This isn't like this is not something you can sue someone for. Like not unless you can prove that the allegations, like even if you're to prove the allegations are false, you have to prove that the person knowingly made the statements saying that, yeah, they're false. Like, you can't make a legal case based on this. You can't say that, oh, well, she's trying to get him fired. Like, you have a legal right as a citizen to boycott companies for whatever reason you want for the most part. Like, there's some obscure laws people might cite from the FTC or whatever, but that's not really something you can take someone to court over. And this isn't really anything but her trying to advocate based on what she knows. And yeah, like the idea and the concept that this guy appears to be a harasser, so let's boycott and ban him. That's a legitimate argument that, well, it's not really a legitimate argument in my opinion. I don't think you just condemn someone based on rumors and hearsay. However, as far as this being a lawsuit which is credible goes, no, it's just not going to happen based on this.
Saucedo herself to go ahead and pop into pretty much any thread that she can find, mentioning the Vic Mignogna accusations or any new accusations and dropping that hashtag in there. Then it was adopted by Twitter and, of course, permeated out the way hashtags tend to do. All right.
Yeah, none of that matters. Like, it doesn't matter how much this hashtag is spread. You're not responsible for ruining someone because you posted a hashtag 20 million times.
Right. So Kaylin Saucedo kicks this off. That is on January 17th, the day after the Broly movie happens. Now, this starts to build and build and build over the next couple weeks. And then the real bombshells start dropping when Jamie Marchi and Monica Rial, co-workers of Vic for at least a decade or more, drop their accusations. Jamie has a story attached. I'm not going to read through the tweets or the story. You can find these on their timeline and go check them out if you want to. That's up to you. Certainly should not harass or bother any of these people, but you can go read about.
Yeah, don't harass guys. We're totally not a hate group. Like, you can totally, like, this is all stuff I've heard before, and it never ends well. That just, I don't get why people are still trying to sell the snake oil, and more importantly, why people are still trying to buy it.
Out the things. If you harass them, they're going to ban you. You won't be able to read anything. But go read about them on their timelines. Read the stories for yourself, and you can kind of start to be the judge on that. However, these two.
Okay, so the fact that he has to say you can kind of be the judge on that, that should tell you how ludicrous it is to think that this case could ever go through, a defamation case based on this could ever go through. I mean, it pretty much continues with this, where there's one other point I want to bring up, because it's really curious how he mentions how the law on this works. And then he completely drops the ball on it afterwards, but give me a moment.
What's next? What's next, right? Threatening behavior being directed tweet in this set of tweets. So they have done that. Now, infer from the place condone any kind of harassment or threatening behavior being directed at anyone. So following a termination, this looks like a reason for the termination. They don't say that officially, but that's what your average reasonable bystander is going to. Ruby anymore. That was the production house that did Ruby. Funimation made a longer statement. I do want to talk about it for very specific productions. But here's the interesting thing. They followed up stating the important part is, we do not condone any kind of harassment or threatening behavior being directed at anyone. So following a termination, this looks like a reason for the termination. They don't say that officially, but that's what your average reasonable bystander is going to infer from the placement of it in this tweet, in this set of tweets. It's a very strange thing for a company to do, to provide publicly a reason for termination. So,
no, it isn't. We've seen companies do this all the time. Like, he's talking this really weird legalese type stuff that just doesn't make any sense. I mean, companies for the most part, I mean, there are some exceptions, but like discrimination against protected groups and stuff like that, and where the companies can pretty much fire you or hire you, keep you around for whatever you want. And as far as legitimate reasons go, like, if you are a public relations nightmare, like, then yeah, you're going to be let go. If you have the appearance of being a harasser to the public eye, then it won't matter what the provable reality is or what the truth is, for that matter. It just matters that, yeah, this guy's bad for our brand. We're dropping him. We don't want to be seen as supporting this kind of stuff. Like, I mean, it's bullshit, but it's the way the world works. That's what the legal system is. That's what the business sector is. There's just not really a reason for wrongful termination either.
They have done that. Now, what's next? What's next, right? Well, what's next is, following Funimation and Rooster Teeth dropping Vic Mignogna, you've got conventions all over the country canceling his convention appearances. My count is somewhere between 15 and 20 conventions. It may be more, it may be less, but I don't think it's less than 15. So you've got 15 to 20 conventions canceling the appearances.
Okay, at this point, it's clear that, like, after having gone through the video, I'll just be repeating myself. There was one point in this video, though, where he explains the way that defamation and libel laws and slander, etc., how they work exactly. Like, the reason why it's so hard in America to sue for this kind of stuff is specifically because you need to be able to prove that the person knowingly lied. That is the malicious intent standard. They have to not only have they have to not only have not told the truth about someone, which destroyed their character. They have to have not told the truth to someone that destroyed their character, having known beforehand that that would destroy their like not even necessarily knowing the consequence of it, just knowing that it was a lie to begin with. If they can come up with a defense like, oh, this is just a rumor that I was told, or this is just what I was going with, etc., then yeah, they could easily get off of it. And this is why most of these defamation cases are thrown out or never go anywhere. This is why it's referred to as a lawsuit. This is why JF's case against Destiny had no chance. This is why the Honey Badger's defamation case against Mary Sue, aside ignoring the jurisdictional grounds, had no chance. This is why a whole bunch of lawsuits involving defamation, slander, libel, etc., that have been threatened or actually filed. For example, conservatives lately, quote unquote conservatives, suing because, oh, I'm not a racist. You called me a racist. That's liable. No, you have to prove a statement of fact is false, and that's it. That the person knew about it beforehand. So again, I'm not getting why this is a thing. But it gets worse than that, because not only is this guy speculating about this guy, it turns out, is also doing a fundraiser for it. And let me put that up.
Webs, I'm your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm. I had an update because the man himself, Vic Mignogna, has made a statement through his Twitter account that alleviates some of the concerns people have had about my GoFundMe campaign to raise funds for Vic. And I understand the...
Now, this is the point where no sympathy should be given for anyone involved with this, any of these people saying that they're doing charitable causes or like trying to help some little guy who's a poor victim of HJWs out or anything like that. They're asking money, they're begging for money for you to pay for their lawsuits, for their personal financial interests. Like, again, even if this guy gets saved, they'll just find more, even if this guy were to take his lawsuit and win, there'd be no precedent set, there'd be no stopping these people from doing what they do. You can get away with telling lies in a legal sense easily. Just be a little bit more ambiguous, be a little bit more speculative, be a little bit more unclear, withhold facts and information that would debunk your case, etc. There are so many ways that these people, these journalists, etc., are going to be able to go ahead and do this. And the only way to really solve the problem is, well, honestly, it's not through some kind of lawsuit, that's for sure. And again, this will just turn out to be another, and I 100% guarantee, and there's probably going to be all kinds of counter arguments and all kinds of defenses for this set of actions, but I guarantee there's no lawsuit be able to add here. This guy who got kicked out of these anime conventions and voice acting gigs, etc., this guy is going to remain blacklisted from that industry, but he'll probably start a YouTube channel, he'll probably start a blog, and he'll update with his little pet concerns while giving you an update for his content, and he'll just use his victimhood as a means to promote himself. That's what happens every single time, and people keep on falling for it. And I don't know why. I don't know why someone and I don't know why people would think that this is not just some kind of shyster tactic to go ahead and try to succeed. There's just no case here, none. And even if there were, who cares? I mean, these people are just again, I'm telling you, it's not just the skeptics when it comes to these YouTubers. Unfortunately, reality is the people who talk about politics, social issues, drama, a lot of this stuff, who get involved in this sphere, they're people who can see a gullible base that they can easily exploit over and over and over again. And it's the reason, and I don't think people have really learned from that. I don't. I think that people have just gotten used to thinking that it's one group or another, or it's just one symptom or another. But the thing about these cliques that's really disgusting and awful is that they're just trying to make money. They're not genuine people. They're not like you and I. They're not trying to be themselves. They're not just trying to produce something that's fun or entertaining. And obviously there's exceptions, like Miss Jim. I kind of wish he would focus more on the stuff that's happening now and do more streams or videos on the stuff I'm talking about. But I can't blame him for deciding to do something else. I really can't, because it's clear his heart's not in it. He wants to do something else. He wants to go ahead and he wants to talk about old 80s flicks and or TV shows rather, and Animus and apparently Warhammer as well. Although big caveat to this, I haven't watched the show. But knowing Jim, yeah, he's doing that because that's what he earnestly wants to do. Like he realizes that these YouTube videos are just these streams and YouTube videos are just gay videos and streams that they do, and they're not really important at the end of the day. But there's something he's passionate about nonetheless. However, when it comes to people like the movement fags and a lot of the people who are just trying to sell you lies to make a buck, they're only interested in keeping their network clean of any kind of scandal so that way they can keep the process going and that people pay their bills for doing absolutely nothing and absolutely milk the viewers for every dime they're worth while selling them a pack of fibs. And it's just depressing. It really is. And it should tell you like the kind of person that Gator is when he goes ahead on stream and says openly that, yeah, this is totally going to happen. This lawsuit's going to be a real thing, and we're going to see some real damages done. I mean, Ricada even goes on to say that this will have some kind of a honeycomb effect, or like it will have like a title, like it will be able to lump in all these other people because apparently Mars Girl was probably talking to people from Channel Awesome, and apparently these people who made these defamatory statements, they apparently also were going about and acting as agents for these companies and organizations, which good luck proving that in court. That these like, and the funny thing is, the weird thing is about this Ricada guy, he's not bullshitting you when he tells you that he's a lawyer. He actually has a law firm. I'm not sure if it's an active one. It could just be an office somewhere, but yeah, he has a legal degree. So I don't know why he's just like, so all I can really say is that this guy he has to be just making up yarns that are just, maybe they're in some legal sense theoretically possible, but realistically they're never ever going to come into fruition. These cases don't come into fruition. These things don't resolve issues. They just don't work. They're called lawsuits for a reason. And honestly, I hope more people just push back against it. I hope people say, no, fuck you. We don't care about you and your and the problems you're dealing with being this alleged creepy molester at these conventions. And there's also this other possibility. There's also the possibility that this guy, which I'm not going to say is innocent, I'm going to say is guilty, but there's also a possibility that the accusers coming forward and making us think about this, maybe they're telling the truth. Maybe this guy is a creepy weirdo, and maybe he is harassing these women at these conventions, and people are going to bat for this guy because, oh, well, we have to presume innocence, and we have to, like, get directly involved. Like, I mean, maybe we should just go with the idea that innocent until proven guilty. I don't know, but does that mean that you have to put your money down on that? Does that mean you have to put your time and effort into getting this guy a whole bunch of resources to help build his case to sue people? I don't think so. I think that people, like, I don't think there's any kind of moral onus to go ahead and help this guy out. And I also don't think that it's necessarily a good thing to help this guy out just because he's getting unfairly, potentially getting unfairly treated. When in reality, we just don't know. So that's my take on that. And I'm going to read a few more comments from the chat, and then I'm going to close it out. Jen Silverstein says, the Money Badgers pit of a lawsuit that did not go anywhere using a disbarred lawyer while they keep asking for shekels for it, did not go anywhere. KAA shilled this, never forget. Yep, that is completely true. That's exactly what happened. And Crablake says, because it was Nick putting it forward, I thought it actually had a chance. I didn't look into the case or whatever happened very deep. Well, yeah, I mean, like, to me, like, yeah, like I said, I would want to like Nick. Like, he has some good qualities about him, but I can't just say that, like, you know, this kind of stuff that he's pushing is in any way good. And if Worski's telling the truth that, I'm going to withdraw a comment on that one. Because in Worski's case with this lawsuit, I don't know if he does have a case or not. He may or may not. I kind of doubt it at this point, but I can't say for sure. So I'm going to withhold comment until further developments happen or it becomes apparent that there is not going to be a thing for it. Keith Richardson says the ComicsGate lawsuit and the fundraising raiser is the same thing. Yeah. Honestly, I don't like. I looked into the ComicsGate thing, and the case sounds really weak. Like you're gonna have to prove that the guy, like, went there with the specific intent to disrupt this guy's contract, and that it's gonna uphold in court. I don't even know if they've gotten past jurisdiction yet. Crab Lake says, I don't think that one has a chance in hell. I believe he's referring to the Worski case. I would say it's unlikely at this point. I haven't heard any updates, and yeah. And Keith Richardson says, welcome back, by the way. It's good to be back. I plan on doing... All right, well, that was it for tonight. I wish I was able to go a little bit more in depth with stuff, but I wasn't. Should take note of that in the future. I've noticed there's been less complaints of buffering, and it seems that the stream went ahead fine with minor technical errors on my end. Also, I'm going to try to do these every once a night so I can keep getting better at them and to make sure that it's able to come in on a regular schedule. Okay, that's good to hear. No buffering. Aside from that, I'm also considering making a move to Streamy. Post a comment with your thoughts on that, if moving to Streamy would be a good idea or not. But the next show I'll do here as well. It'll be tomorrow night at 8, and this time 8 o'clock means 8 o'clock. So let's stop doing the late stuff. I don't like it when streamers announce a time and then delay it. But I know sometimes it can't be helped. But I'm not going to do an 8:05 or an 8:15 sort of thing. So tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, that'll be that. All right, peace.